Hey everybody, Kimberly here, and when I heard there would be a standalone game of Cascadia, this one called Alpine Lakes, I said count me in. Count me in all the way. I was very excited to hear about it. I know that Cascadia has just really hit the gaming table for so many people, particularly family gamers. It's just so hard. Since 2021, it won Game of the Year. There's a lot to like about Cascadia, and if you have played that game, this one will be reminiscent but does offer some different gameplay and one brand new mechanic that you will just love. So I want to show you what's in the box and how the game is just a little different from Cascadia and what I'm going to call its like older sibling. Like this is a slightly more complex game and offers an advanced variant called wildlife scoring that makes your games just that much more complex in a good way for scoring. Now, I kind of liken it to the Wormspan of Wingspan. Wormspan is a little bit more complex than Wingspan. I think Alpine Lakes offers gamers a great game to just like sink their teeth into that, of course, just totally reminds you of playing Cascadia, a tile-laying, animal critter playing game. So here's what you get. Guess what? These are your tiles now. They are 2 hexes together in one. Let me show you up close. So, not only that, we've got 5 new critters. You've got the mountain goat and the marmot. You have the cougar. Here's our cougar right here. We have an eagle that's pictured on this tile, but not necessarily in the animals right now. And then the pika. Did I mention that already? The cougar, the marmot, the pika, the mountain goat, and the eagle. And you also have Alpine Lakes. I just put this one up here and I didn't talk about it, but there are lakes. When you surround your lakes, you will score them and you will get a better score the higher the lake is. Now, when I talk about the height of the lake, I am talking elevation. That's the cool feature of this game. You will be building up in this game on layers, tiles on top of tiles, unlike in the original game. This is the player's start board. In this case, of course, you've got 4 ones. You're going to just shuffle them up and then deal 1 out to every player. And you'll see that you have that nature symbol, which is this pine cone token. These are going to function just like in Cascadia. That gives you a chance to flush particular critters out here. That give you a chance to take different pairings, because just like in Cascadia, it's your turn. This is my start tile. Let me put these guys over here. I had to take this one, this combo, or this combo. I place the tile into my space. Now, tile placement is a little different in this game, but at first, I'm probably going to want to expand. You can always place a tile adjacent to one side of any tile in your location. There is the way for you to build up, though. That's really cool. So if I take this combination right here, I'm going to take this mountain goat and I'm going to place it on one of these spaces that has a picture of a mountain goat. It could be here. It could be here. That's going to be the only places. And when I place one on there, only one animal can go on each hex space. So if I put the animal there, I'm pretty much saying that little pika isn't going to go right there, or this marmot's not going to go right there. That's my turn. It's super easy. I take a tile, I flip it over, I reach in the bag of animals, and I pull out the next animal. Cool! It was an eagle. This is so exciting. Yeah, beautiful bald eagle. I mean, these tiles are great. I love the critters. Again, I'm from the Pacific I live in the Pacific Northwest. I'm not from here, but it's been about 15 years, so I'm starting to feel more like a local. Inland Northwest, but still in Cascadia. And so I'm just loving all the Cascadia stuff because you don't get the critters. You don't just get the tiles. We now have our scoring cards, and they're going to be in 3 different terrain, essentially. So you'll see out here, you've got glaciers, you have meadows, and you have forests, and of course we have the Alpine Lakes. So they're going to be scoring cards that you get to look at, and honestly, look, these are all the glacier cards, including the one that's here. So there are 6 possibilities for how to score glaciers. 6 again for meadows, and then 6 again for forests. So I've got the A cards out here, and they simply work It says forest, unique animals. This will be scoring at the end of the game. Scores for each forest corridor, which is a tile-to-tile, side-by-side forest. You have to have essentially the background of the forest in contiguous spaces. And you will be wanting a variety of animals. So if you can get all 5 types in a forest, you'll get 17 points. And you can do this in multiple corridors that are separate from each other. In another one, I get 2 in one, so I get 4 more points on top of the 17 of a different corridor and so forth. So you want your forest to be populated with a bunch of different critters. Now, in your meadow, for instance, this one says score for a number of animals in each contiguous group of the same wildlife within a meadow corridor. I've got 2 pikas in the same meadow connection, the same corridor, 5 points. I've got 4 cougars, 12 points. If I can get 6 or more of the same type in a meadow, boom, 22 big ones. So that's your meadow, and that's an example. And then for glacier, this is fascinating. You want pairs. Score each glacier corridor. Again, it's just a side-by-side adjacent like type, in this case, our glacier. If it's got an adjacent pair of animals of the same wildlife type, so it doesn't have to be cougars, but it could be 2 of the same. And the more of these separated pairs of glacier animals, the more points you get. 33 if you can make 5 separate pairings in glaciers. Woo, right? Talk about a challenge. Now, the wildlife scoring comes in a variety of colors. You've got wildlife scoring, you've got spatial scoring, and habitat scoring. And you'll draw one of each of these for your different scorings you want if you want to play advanced. And it just gives more scoring opportunities. So when you feel like you want to start building up, the only rule is that you have to have at least access to one side that goes a step down by 1. And you need to make sure that you have, let me take this one. I'm going to take this. You have to essentially be able to move critters to higher terrain, which means they match. So if I take this tile and I want to place it here, I would have to place this right here. It shows my mountain goat. I have to have that pictured if I want to cover up a mountain goat. And they simply will just go whoop up to the higher terrain. And now I have 1 step down. It's essentially any kind of step down you see with like topography. Pretty easy to get with the placement. Nothing too wild. Now I place my pika in the only place I can, but fortunately I have a meadow for them. And once I surround my lake, let's say I get this guy right here. Now these always replace. These always replace. I'm just simply running through what a tile placement would look like. If I place this here, I have fully surrounded my lake with other tiles. Then I get to score my lake. And the higher it is, I get to multiply it times that much more. It's really, really cool. So this is going to be your scoring cards, just like you see before. We're going to score up our card for the forest, the meadow, the glacier. I just talked about that. For lakes, then your halfway score. And then you have this. This is fascinating. So you want to look at critters that are 3 or higher. And you get to score all of your critters who are 3 or higher, and they're going to receive points. And much like before you got the competition in this game is if you have more of those critters higher than the other. So if I have 2 of my cougars that are at level 3 and my opponent has 1, I'm going to receive first place points for this. And so it's dependent on player count, but you'll be receiving first place, second place points for having critters that are 3 or higher. And if you have any leftover pine cones, and of course if you had those scoring cards, which I've got up here as an example. So this game is so cool. I'm going to take this guy and put him right there. Now, if you ever, just like before, place out one of your animals and it's on a space that has the pine cone pictured on it because it's a single habitat, like this guy right here and this guy, I place my cougar down, I'm going to get that pine cone. And I get to use the pine cone to, again, pick a different combination like these 2 or those 2 or, these 2, right? I could take and then replace. Or I can say I want to flush any number of the critters. And the same rule goes for the critters. If you ever have 3 of the same kind, you can choose to flush those. If you ever have 4 of the same kind, then they automatically flush. This is fascinating. It is just that much more complex. It's just that much more like to work with. For me, having like a 3D like level to this, to have like a 3D angle, it was just like the very first game. I'm like, this is blowing my mind. It was just so wild and so fun. And I saw every player at the table really take a different approach. And I was just fascinated. I love the idea of moving terrain and lifting things up. Obviously, when you place a tile, it can't be half on, half off. And you can't keep stacking tiles one on top of the other to build a really tall thing. You always have to have access to one step down to a previously lower tile. So that's one of the rules. But it's, again, pretty easy to just see how you're building. You're like, well, that obviously makes sense. But you're building and you're adding and you're moving them around. You're trying to accomplish your card goals. You're trying to accomplish, if you're doing the extra scoring cards, you're trying to surround lakes. You're trying to get your animals up high. And you only have 20 turns. I mean, that, again, this game goes by pretty fast, which is one draw and placement, and then that's your turn. You get to do that 20 times, and then the game is over. But this does add some complexity. It does add some really cool scoring mechanics that I just think are really cool. And you get to play with two hexes put together in a tile, and then that's going to be how the game makes up for covering up tiles by moving up. And it's balanced incredibly well. So this just, again, has so much puzzle to it. I like it. I like it, and again, it's so fast. Now, I do have the same critique I had of Cascadia. This is my one and only critique of the game that makes it not a perfect game for me. And it's that you can flush the animals, but you can never flush the tiles. And I understand that the tiles are set for the amount of players that you have, but when you're looking for a particular terrain or a particular animal pictured on one of your tiles, and it just doesn't come, and it just doesn't come, and it just doesn't, and you really, really need it, there's a way to get the critters by flushing with your pine cones or your nature tokens, or if they just stack up and there's too many of the same type. But there's never a way to exchange tiles. And even exchange tiles with the ones that you put back in the box. I think that would be a great variant to include some way for players to essentially get different tiles at some point in the game. And I don't know what the cost would be, and I don't know if it would break the game, but that's just always been my biggest critique of Cascadia. And Alpine Lakes follows that same pattern of allowing flushing of animals, but not of the tiles. Now, with that said, there is so much opportunity for you to play this game with the amount of cards that they give you, with the amount of goals that you have for glaciers, for meadows, and for forests. And if you want to play easier, you can always play with the family variant and the intermediate variant. And you simply don't play with all those scoring cards that I just showed you. You simply play with a pared down version where you get to do the tile drafting, the animal placement, and the building in Alpine Lakes, which I think is fascinating. I'm not ever in that situation, but I know that there might be some families who are. And so that offers a really, really dynamic play while still having this really, really cool game. Now, I will say they're going to include a mini expansion, and I want to grab my notes here for this because it's a Kickstarter mini expansion that includes E and F cards for your habitat scoring card types and then environment scoring card types, and it's going to come separately packaged and will also feature a lake scoring card and alternative scoring options for scoring lakes, which is really, really cool. So, I mean, just some fun stuff here. So I've got the link to the campaign in the description. You can go and check it out. Thanks for joining me in the overview of what the Alpine Lakes does, how it really just captures Cascadia, but amplifies it with more puzzly features, with more complexity, and of course that building up with the double tiles. It's so cool. It's really, really cool. So that's going to be it for me this time, folks. Go and check it out. Have a game. Cascadia Alpine Lakes. What a fun follow-up standalone to Cascadia. Again, that award-winning game, Spiel des Jahres winner. I will see you later, folks. Bye.